Welcome back to the Dental Pipeline Podcast. My name is Russell Bodley, and I'm here with my co-host Sam Jolly.
How's it going, everyone?
All right, so today we got some big plans for today. So we hope that we can keep this short and sweet and to the point, but please excuse us if it is a little bit longer. So today we're going to go through undergrad. So the last episode, we kind of talked about high school and what you should do, some tips and tricks if you're in high school and you already know you want to go into dentistry. Now we're going to start talking about undergrad. So people decide they want to go into dentistry at different points in their life and different points of undergrad as well. So if you're not right right there at the very beginning of your college degree, don't worry, we can talk on some of those points in a couple of other episodes later on if people want that. But today we're going to talk about, if you know you kind of want to go into dentistry right as you're going into college, what are some of the best strategies that you can do? What are some of the best courses you can take as you go throughout your college degree to try and get into dental school right off the bat? So, and what are some of the study strategies that we can do while you're in school?
So to preface what we're going to be diving into, college, man, Russell and I just barely finished our undergrad, or I did, I guess. He's been in dental school for a year now. But I will say it's a big change from high school, like many of you know that are currently in your undergrad. It's probably the first time in your life when you're balancing a lot of different things and you have, with job, full course load of classes. You're trying to date people, you're trying to provide service, shadow, and participate in extracurricular activities, and the list goes on and on. So there's a lot on your plate. And naturally, dental schools, when they're looking at your application, they're looking at you, they want to see that there's a lot on your plate. Because as Russell can share, when you get to dental school, there's still a lot more, if not more, on your plate than during undergrad. So as we go through this timeline of, we're going to try and go year by year. We're going to start with a few things before we jump into the year by year process. But what we want this to look like is a theoretical timeline. And we'll talk about pros and cons, and maybe if you were to switch this course here, what's the benefit of doing this course here? But ultimately, this isn't a right or wrong, one-size-fit-all schedule for every single listener. Your schedule is going to look different. You may have to retake a course. You may have to take an entry-level course to remember what biology is or what chemistry is as you're getting ready for some of these courses. But this is a schedule that Russell kind of held to a little more during his undergrad, and it resulted in him actually getting into dental school a year earlier. So we're going to kind of run through this. We're going to talk about things we wish we would have done differently, things we wish we would have been able to put in our schedule as we were preparing for dental school, and also some things we really enjoyed from how we did our undergrad, and things we wouldn't change.
So, to start off, what degree should you try and pursue? Well, in all honesty, you want to choose something that you're passionate about. You're going to go to dental school. You know that at this point. You kind of know your why, and that's great. But you want to choose something that you can do really well in. So, whether that be psychology or business or chemistry or biology, it doesn't really matter what your degree is per se, but you do need to know you're going to have to take required courses to get into dental school. So, with that in mind, a lot of dental students typically choose a biology or a chemistry major because a lot of those courses run right in line with what are required for dental school. Now, that's all good, but chemistry is a really hard degree, and there are a lot of courses that don't actually really run in line with dental school because I did a chemistry degree and I really loved it and I had a lot of fun. It was tough, but there are definitely a lot of courses that aren't really helping me in my dental school career and journey, but it was fun. So that's why I liked doing that. One of the things that Sam can talk a little bit more on this is we had some friends that did an interdisciplinary degree. Sam, do you want to talk on that for a second?
Yeah, definitely. So the idea with it being in interdisciplinary studies is you kind of pick typically three degrees that you wish you could pull a little bit from, and then you have a capstone project that kind of ties those three specialties or those three fields of study together. I had a friend, he did psychology, chemistry, and biology, and he was pre-med. So that kind of encapsulated everything he would need to get his degree. or to do all the prereqs for medical school. And I'd say it's the same for dental. You could do chemistry and biology because those do have the required courses you need, but then you could tack on maybe economics or accounting, some business information that would be super beneficial later in life when you maybe hope to own your own practice or help run the business with a partner or whatever that may look like for you, whatever your goals are. So that's something worth definitely looking into, is an interdisciplinary study degree. But on top of that, it's also important to consider backup plans, right? Sometimes we obviously have the plan of getting into dentistry and doing that for a career. Another friend of mine, one time he told me how his dad wanted him to be a dentist. I said, okay, so is your dad a dentist? His response was he was. Like, what? Who just stops being a dentist? And what happened is dad, and I think he was cutting down branches of a tree, ended up taking his fingers off with a chainsaw. And so that ended his career pretty quickly, you know. And with an interdisciplinary studies degree or with a biology degree, it can be really hard to find a career after that. Or find yourself in a place where you can have a backup job. Chemistry, I think, would be great if you were looking for a backup. I did business management as my degree, which I feel like has a lot of application outside of undergrad. So that could also be something you want to consider. Well, while the risk is pretty low, there are pros and cons. Interdisciplinary studies, you get everything you need and a little bit more without having to put in as much work. I mean, you still have to put in a lot of work, but it really solidifies and brings in this learning, this collective learning of all the sciences together, which is how in reality life is. You're going to learn something and you're going to see it apply in all aspects of your life. So there's a beauty to that. But take some of these insights we're sharing and figure out what's best for you. There is no one size fit all, as we've said multiple times on this podcast, but these are just some ideas that maybe can get your brain thinking, what would be a best fit for me as I look to become a dentist?
Now we're going to talk about some of the non-negotiables with going through college. What are the required courses? So if you know where you want to go to dental school, that's awesome. Look at those schools that you're interested in and find they always have a page that says what courses are required, prereqs for that school. But if you don't know where you want to go, here's a little list of where you can start. So most schools, if not all, require general biology 1 and 2 with the lab, general chemistry 1 and 2 with the lab, organic chemistry 1 and 2 with the lab, biochemistry 1, physics 1 and 2 with the lab, and English 1 and 2. Pretty small list, but it's still pretty tough to get all of those courses in, especially if you're doing a different degree other than chemistry or other than biology. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're starting to plan your schooling. You can go and talk to your academic advisor and they'll help you. Most of them know, okay, you're pre-health, like you want to do this, they'll help you get those classes in there. But just remember, you've got to get those classes in. And then some of the recommended and often required classes at a lot of schools have to do with human anatomy with the lab, human physiology with the lab, histology with the lab, microbiology with the lab, biochemistry 2 with the lab, genetics, embryology, and any nursing or medicine related courses like pathophysiology and pharmacology. So that's a pretty big list. If you could get all of those courses in, you're going to be very well prepared for dental school and for what's going to come, science wise at least. And the dentistry stuff you can learn from shadowing and other things, and you're going to learn in dental school anyway. But that gives you a good head start if you can get a good portion of those classes in.
So as we move now into the years, and that's kind of how we're going to structure this thing now that we've prefaced kind of what courses you need to be taking, we're going to just try and take you through a snapshot of each year. And a typical undergrad degree will take 4 years of school, about 8 semesters. And so we're going to go through, and that could be quarter system, depending on wherever you are, wherever you're attending school. But we're going to just go through and basically do an outline of what we think a typical year should look like for first, second, third, and fourth year, and maybe some shortcuts you could take to potentially get into dental school a year earlier. So we'll start off with year one. In year one, we really recommend this be your year to lock down on studying, creating a culture in not just, wherever you're living, but more within yourself of being an avid studier will change the trajectory of your entire dental career. Learning to
Absolutely.
learn then will change everything for you. So figure out how you learn best. Some people learn more hands-on, some people are more audio or visual, and it'll be grades are important, and we can't overemphasize grades because at the end of the day, that's how schools are going to be able to rank you with a lot of other individuals, especially if they come from your same school, is by your grades and your academic performance. And then we also just want to recommend as you work hard on grades, once you've figured out the way you study, work really hard, put in those hours, but open your eyes to other opportunities as well.
We really think it's important to get involved while you're in your undergrad. Not only does getting involved set you apart from other applicants, but it also makes for a good time. Ever since, or I guess right at the very beginning of undergrad, I tried to get involved in my chemistry club and some biology clubs and the pre-dental club. We actually started that pre-dental club when I got there. So get involved. It's fun. You get to know a lot of people. You develop social skills, and this is what schools want, or dental schools want to see from applicants.
And I think another way you can get involved quickly outside of clubs and extracurricular activities is research. I'll recommend getting into research as soon as possible. Russell kind of worked on research all throughout his time at our university. What I did, a different approach I took, and I don't know if there's a right or wrong. Maybe I'd recommend a combination of the two, but I did 2 summer internships where I just worked full time as a summer intern doing research at a university. And so there isn't a wrong or right way to do this, but a very important part of doing research is presenting. So if you can get in front of people and present what you're doing, even that's just a poster or you're standing up on a stage, getting into that will be very useful. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but get into research as soon as you can. And whatever that looks like at first, even if it's just cleaning the lab or doing whatever you can for that professor, and just be interested in learning more and growing more. That'll benefit you to get your name published on some papers and some research projects. That'll be super beneficial. And the way you can find research, go to professors, ask your science professors, go to research symposiums, go to those places where research-minded individuals are, and see what you can do to contribute. And I can promise you'll find something if you're at a university, that there will be some professor that will take you under their wing and help you get your name published on something if you're willing.
Kind of a little bit separated from that, but still in the same breath. If you need to work, try and find a job that would look good on an application, whether that be dental assisting or being a teacher's assistant. Try and find something that makes you stand out, that makes you look like you're really trying to help other people and that you're trying to be involved in the community as well. This gives you life experience. This is one of the huge things that dental schools are looking for now is life experience in their applicants. My class, we have 3 hygienists, and probably half of my class, if not more than half of my class, was a dental assistant at some point in their life. So being able to have that experience is really good. Now, in all honesty, if you're at a university, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to land a dental assisting job unless you know the dentist and you have those ties. But if you can get that, do it. It's going to help you be set apart from all the other applicants.
Yeah, and now we're going to get down to the things you've been waiting to hear regarding those required courses that Russell mentioned a little bit earlier. What courses do I take my freshman year of college? What we would recommend, and we'll dive into a little bit of the why we recommend it, is we recommend taking your English courses. So your first semester, taking that English 1, whatever required of level of English, and then that English 2, those 2 semesters, get that done your freshman year. Also, take care of Gen Bio 1 and 2 with their labs and General Chemistry 1 and 2 with their labs. And so what that looks like for both of those is you'll go in, you'll have a professor each class, then you'll have a lab at a different time. That's, a couple hours, maybe once a week. As you go and do those things, those 2 classes are essential to take before some of the other prerequisites that come later on. So it's essential that you take those early on to open up doors to potentially apply sooner in your upcoming years. So generals are also things you're going to want to knock out your first year. And these are often things you can knock out if you haven't gotten into college yet or you're in high school. Generals are often courses you can knock out like English when you're in high school doing concurrent enrollment. So we definitely recommend doing that. If not, that's okay. Work on those generals that first year. Try and get as many done as you can. They usually aren't very difficult. They might be time consuming, but they aren't difficult. And then take those, that Gen Bio, Gen Chemistry 1 and 2 with their labs and English. If you can do that, that'll set you up really well for the upcoming semesters and the upcoming years.
Perfect. With that, we're going to move on to year two. So, in year two, or your sophomore year of college, you want to continue studying hard. I mean, that first year is a beast, but at that point, you kind of know how you study, and that's good. So, here's some numbers to kind of look for. If you can have your GPA around a 3.5 or higher, that's really good. If you can have it at a 3.7 GPA or higher, that's great. And that's going to help you stand apart from other applicants when you're applying. I mean, if you can get as close to a 4.0 as possible, shoot for that. That's great. I mean, that's going to really help you stand apart. But hopefully at this point your ability to time manage has improved and you're able to live the college lifestyle, the student lifestyle a little bit better. Enjoy the time a lot more and I mean enjoy your college the entire time really. But hopefully at that point your studying is really dialed in.
Yeah, and we mentioned before in year one how important it is to get involved. That's because getting involved early will pay dividends in the future. Meaning that if you've been in there for a year, if you've participated in a club and you've gone and met with people, and usually during your first year, because the courses aren't as hard, you actually do have a little bit more time to participate in these and make connections there. That will only benefit you in the second and third years to apply for leadership positions within those organizations. So like Russell mentioned, he went to the dental club, also was in the chemistry club. I know that Russell held multiple leadership positions in dental related, like cohort or club, and then also in chemistry, right? In the chemistry club, you held leadership positions. And I was able to earlier get in with this dental cohort or the dental club that we had kind of started there, and I was a secretary for a little bit and then I was the president the next year. So getting involved early will just give you opportunities to have leadership roles which look really good when you go to apply. And I think this is very well connected to research and service. If you're doing research, the more you research and the more you get involved with that professor, that's likely to result in a good letter recommendation, also in some more opportunities to share at symposiums and get really good contact with others. And then as you continue to do service, you'll find yourself in leadership roles regarding service that'll look really good. And Russell, when we were in undergrad, I remember we were, one of the big service things we did, we went to the Happy Factory. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about that and long-term service, what that looks like?
Yeah. Honestly, the Happy Factory was a lot of fun. So service doesn't have to look like making, I don't know, a blood drive or something. It doesn't have to look like that. Go and find something that's fun in your community that is helping other people. In our community, I don't think we've actually really talked about this, but we went to Southern Utah University. So this is in Cedar City, Utah, smaller city, and a lot of the community gets together and tries to work together. Everything is donated to the factory, and they build wooden toys for children in communities of need. And they ship them out. So everything they get is for free. All of the work is just voluntary. And so we got involved with that. And one, this looks really good on an application because you're learning how to work with your hands and put these toys together. And I mean, it seems pretty rudimentary, but it was really good. And I think it's helped me a lot because you're putting all these small pieces together. And also you're just learning to talk with some older folks too, which is really huge in dentistry. A lot of older folks will come in and they need their work done. So you need to be able to talk to all different types of generations. And so with that, kind of related to that service, we also would urge you to consider going on a humanitarian aid trip if money permits. Obviously, that's not everybody's going to be able to do this, but if you can and your school provides the opportunity to do this, try and go and do a humanitarian aid trip. That is going to give you some of those really cool experiences that you can lean on when you're in your interviews and you're talking about why you want to be a dentist.
Yeah, and I think related to that, other maybe not necessarily going on foreign trips, or you can even do humanitarian aid trips, I'm sure, within the US. But another wise thing you could be doing at this moment when it comes to travel is try to visit dental schools as you go travel. try to set up these tours, get your face out there. Because if you go to these dental schools, a lot of them, the people who will give you the tour are actually admin that are often in charge of the admissions process. And so it's really beneficial to go on these tours, and maybe you're like, hey, I just want to go out to Florida for the week for vacation. Maybe just tack on a few dental school tours when you go out there, and it wouldn't take much time, but it'd be well worth your time to go in and get a little more exposure that way. And one thing I just wanted to add that maybe we haven't highlighted a lot that comes to mind is dental shadowing. I know we talked about getting involved and trying to work for a dentist if you can. If you aren't able to assist a dentist, that's just fine. Make sure you, though, are getting lots of exposure in dental clinics. So whether that means sitting there and shadowing and just watching, which most of the time that's what it will look like, find your favorite dentist and stick with that dentist. Maybe visit a few specialty programs, but hold true to general dentistry. Go to general dentistry because that's what you're applying for at the time, even if you do have interest in specialty programs. And just get a ton of exposure. Lots of applicants now, even though the required amount is 100 hours at a lot of these universities or dental schools, they're looking for maybe 200 plus. That might be the average you're looking for. So I would shoot for that, if not more, just to make you stand out, just even that much more to show that, hey, I put in the time and I know for a fact that this is what I want to do. And with that, we're going to jump into the courses we would recommend that you take the second year of college.
So this is a loaded year. So this is kind of like Sam said, we're kind of following how I did it. If you are able to follow this, you're probably going to be able to apply early and possibly get into school early. But if you do this year is very tough. So the courses we'd recommend are human physiology with the lab, with OChem 1, which is also with the lab, obviously, because those are both kind of mechanism based. So you're learning how to push arrows in OChem, and in human physiology, you're learning about the mechanisms of the body and how everything works together. And do those with physics 1, because physics 1 is kind of that as well. They all kind of go together in some way, shape, or form. And obviously they're going to be different, but try to do those together. And then take OChem 2 the next semester with physics 2. And if you're feeling crazy, take it with human anatomy. And try and fit microbiology within this year at some point. And if you do all of this, you're going to be set to take the DAT over the summer. And so you can study over the summer for the DAT. You've had your biology courses, you've had your chemistry courses, pretty deep into chemistry at this point, and you're going to be pretty set for the DAT. You already know how to read. That's a big portion of the DAT. We're going to talk about that in a later episode. But if you can get to this point and you've finished OChem 1 and 2 after your second year of university, then that summer you're going to be set to study and take the DAT.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about what you mentioned is this isn't a fit schedule for everyone. Most people do apply their third year. Some people even apply their last year and take a gap year. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in this episode. But really, what do you have to lose? That's the question we end up asking ourselves when we consider this. What do I have to lose by taking these courses a little earlier? Well, you might have a little bit harder of a semester, but you will have to take these courses at some point anyways. And so if you go in and take these and learn everything you need to do for the DAT, that can result in you getting in a year earlier. Now, what happens if you don't get in? Well, your application is saved. Everything's still there. So guess what? When the next cycle rolls around, you just hit resubmit. So really the only thing you lose would be money. The money it takes to apply to dental school and the money it takes to travel to potential interviews. So really, I feel like the potential reward outweighs the potential risks in this situation. That's why we do recommend taking this 2-year route. So now that we're jumping to the third year, same thing before, keep up your GPA, continue involvement. Even if you've applied at this point, even if you've taken our advice and taken the DAT and applied maybe a little later, but applied early in terms of not having the 4-year, applying your third year of school. When you do apply and you have that high GPA, it's important you continue your involvement in clubs and research and organizations, because schools don't want to simply see, oh, he did or she did all of that just so they look good for their application. In reality, they want to see that you're committed to the cause even after you've applied. So continue your involvement. And oftentimes when you get into interviews, they might ask you about how that's still going and if you still are involved. And being involved will allow you to share how it currently is going for you. And so from there, we kind of want to offer you the same advice that we gave previously about touring dental schools, campuses, getting exposure. And then that leads to a potential application year for the third year.
Yeah, so the third year, you really want to set yourself up for getting the dental application in. You continue on the shadowing and the everything you've been doing for those first 2 years, and you keep setting yourself up for becoming a really good applicant. So the courses that we'd recommend here are take your biochem. A lot of people wait till their fourth year. You might as well just take it in your third year. And if you do, you possibly can finish up your degree and graduate a year early and get into dental school. Now, say that that's not the case. Take biochem 1 and 2 anyway with the lab. And if you decided to move physics to this year, take that. Whatever courses you decided to wait on to make that load lighter the year before, take those at this point. And you can start taking some nursing or med related courses because it's getting closer to the time that you're going to be in dental school. And these are some of the courses that you're going to be taking in dental school. So your pathophysiology, your pharmacology, your histology. These are going to be good courses to take at this time. Any other courses you're interested in as well, such as business courses, these will be beneficial to you as well. Now, if you haven't taken the DAT yet, you take it as soon as you possibly can within your third year. You've got to, we're going to talk about this and we'll go into depth about the DAT, but you try to take it as early as possible and apply. The earlier, the better.
And that moves us straight into year 4. So ideally, you've applied. Ideally, you've been able to, well, and if you follow the 2-year plan we shared originally, where you apply during the summer, like Russell did after he had taken OChem, he actually got an interview and got into school a year early. So year 4 could be year 1 actually for you in dental school if you were able to apply early and get in. But if not, there's nothing wrong with that. If you applied your third year or had to reapply your third year after applying your second year, just know that if you applied your second year and didn't get in, all these schools now see you as a reapplicant. And whenever you reapply, you actually are likely to move up on the list of students they consider because they can see, wow, they're actually committed and want to come here, even though they didn't get in the year before. So don't feel disheartened if you don't make it that first year or even the second time you apply. But year 4 is really going to be a time where hopefully if you didn't apply that second year and you applied your third year, you're going to interviews, which may mean travel or just Zoom calls. And on top of interviews, you'll still be involved in courses, taking classes, and you will likely be pushing any leadership responsibilities you have onto that upcoming class. And so, Russell, once you get to that fourth year, what do you think when it comes to your degree? What courses should we be taking, or how difficult should our schedule be when we're in that fourth year for undergrad?
Well, what I was planning on doing was kind of taking it a little bit lighter. At this time, you're going to be doing interviews, and interviews are really time consuming. And so you don't want to load yourself super, super heavy. You want to be able to have some breathing room to be able to go to those interviews and go and tour schools and try to figure out where you're going to go and just try to set yourself up as good as possible. So that's why we kind of suggest passing on the torch to the next class with the leadership and to allow yourself some breathing room and time to go and get yourself set up for that next year. Now, if none of this is what you want to do, if you want to take a gap year, that's great. Do that. But this is kind of just some of the things that we thought were good that we didn't really think about right at the very beginning. And so it kind of, I mean, like Sam could attest to this. If he could have taken Gen Chem in his first year, he would have done that so that he could have taken OChem in his second year and then taken the DAT over the summer. It just gives you options.
Definitely. And as we wrap up this episode, it's important, we've mentioned this multiple times, this is not one size fits all. Your schedule will look different, but what we've shared, like Russell mentioned, are things we wish we would have done differently. Had I followed maybe Russell's schedule a little more, I could have applied a year earlier and him and I could be walking down the hallways of dental schools together. Who knows what it would look like. But that could be a reality, right? Like if I would have known then that that was an opportunity or an option for me. So as we wrap up, we want to talk about maybe a few final common misconceptions that students may have as they go into their undergrad program. First, we already hit on this. There are multiple ways to do this, and your path will look different. If your path isn't exactly what you planned out that freshman year when you went into that advisor's office and sketched out your plan, that is okay. That is totally okay. If you apply that second year and don't get in and reapply, that is totally okay. At the end of the time, you're losing a year, but during that year, you're going to have wonderful memories that you're going to make and share with others. So that's misconception number one.
The second misconception that we kind of see is, wouldn't a gap year be helpful to get into dental school? We don't think it necessarily is. And why? Because you're taking a step away from education. The longer you're away from education, the harder it is to get back in. I feel this every time I have a break. It's hard to jump back into the science and, man, just learning in general at the depth that you need to in dental school. So if you take a step away from schooling after your undergrad for a full year, you can do that. That's totally fine. But just know it's going to be a little bit harder when you come back. So, I mean, if you take a step away, just try and continue learning throughout that year in some way, shape, or form to keep your mind sharp so that when you get to dental school, you can hit the ground running. That's the whole point of this, is we want to help you hit the ground running once you get to dental school.
And our third misconception is not to be overwhelmed or over concerned with getting straight A's that you don't take a full-time schedule. Because in reality, when you're in undergrad and you want that 4.0 so bad, really the worst thing you could do is say, I'm just going to take one class at a time while I work, and over 8 years or over 6 years or whatever, to ensure you get that 4.0. In all reality, dental schools want to see that you can perform under a lot of things. That's why they want you to be involved in extracurriculars and in these clubs and all these other things that we've mentioned and will continue to mention and go over in upcoming episodes. Because in dental school, you're carrying a 30 plus credit hour schedule. So by simply robbing yourself of the opportunity to learn how to take on a load of courses at one point in time and perform well, you're not going to prepare yourself really well for dental school, and that's what a lot of times those applicants or those committees are looking for when they look at your application.
Yeah, absolutely. And being in dental school right now, it definitely has helped, having gone through undergrad and taking a full course load and having all those extracurriculars that I had to do and work at the same time. And so it is definitely um, a bonus if you're able to finish it all at the same time. So yeah, keep that up. And then the last misconception we wanted to talk about was having to do with course load as well. It's writing out the course. So that's a misconception. If you're going to fail the course, you're going to just do terrible because, I don't know, some family tragedy happens or something big happens and you can't do anything about that. Just retake it. Take a W on your transcript because that's better than an F. When you're filling out the ADSAS, which we'll talk about in a later episode, this is the dental school application. And when you're filling this out, it averages your grades. On your transcript, it might not show an average of your grades because you've retaken a class, but the ADSAS does, and that might hurt you really bad. So take a W rather than an F, and it'll be better for you.
That's all we have for you today. We're excited you were able to tune in and hear some of what the things we had to share, and we hope it was super beneficial for you. Like always, please comment or reach out to us at our email, thedentalpipeline@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments, suggestions, questions, all of it. Please send it our way. We're happy to connect with you a little more that way. And that's pretty much it. Anything else, Russell, for today?
Nope, just smash that subscribe button and stay sweet, but not too sweet, or otherwise you might get some cavities.